David,
Hey Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Wearing a jacket, so it's cold over there?
Yeah, it's a little cool this morning, and my recent events have left me with a little bit of a chill even when it's warm out. So
Hmm.
that's the way it is.
Things
Yeah.
being affected. But again, we covered a gambit of subjects here like we always do. And I know the listeners appreciate the time, and especially in lieu of your health issues, that you're still able to come on here and do the show and share your knowledge with the listeners.
Well, I've been fortunate throughout uh, not all of my life because I didn't actually get in the pool industry till I was, I don't know, 20, 27 or 28 or something
Hmm.
like that. So I didn't really have the passion, but the fire got lit when I was first got in the pool industry, and it's stayed lit. And I've been fortunate to to go to work every day doing something that I really enjoyed, that I love doing, and it's my passion and my livelihood. And I really do enjoy studying water and figuring things out, and and uh, and doing stuff like that. So it's not so much work, and I'm sure that other guys that have the same problems that I'm faced with now with my health would probably just say, "Well, why are you working?" And my answer is because it's what I like doing,
Hmm.
and it's why I get up in the morning. So um, I get up every day and come in here to my computer and write articles and talk to people and do stuff all day long, and all of it has to do with water and passing along uh, my knowledge to people that want it
Hmm.
and need it. And so uh, I have a way of getting that knowledge to people that's easy for them to understand. So
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I appreciate your you used the word last time. I can't remember the word you used. Altruism, is that the word?
altruism, yes.
Yeah, and I think that sums it up right there. Altruistic. You're just
Well,
wanting to
I
give back.
started in the beginning. I was making a living from this industry, and I thought, how can I give back?
Hmm.
And I give back by sharing my knowledge.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Bob, and we'll definitely be praying for you that your health, especially the heart condition and the lung condition, of course, always is something that we pray for you about. That you're gonna beat the statistics even longer than you have.
Well, I hope that's the case. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm going to keep on doing it. I'll probably, uh, when it happens, I'll probably keel over at my desk.
Hopefully not on my podcast show.
So maybe not on your podcast. So anyway, I still do podcasts. I've got another one on Friday. I've got another
Yeah,
podcast.
with the Pool Nation guys, they're
Yeah,
really a good group of guys, and I know I've known John for years too. You mentioned him earlier about the borate and when he did the borate test, and
right.
I think there's so many guys that are young coming up in the industry that have the knowledge and have the skill to project it, and those three guys definitely are are on that list.
Yeah.
So, all
So
right, well, thank you for
anyway,
your time.
you're welcome. I enjoyed talking with you, and I will see you next time.
Okay, I'll see ya.
Take care, David.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
And I think it was important to play the beginning of the last recording I did with Bob Lowry, and also the last time I talked to him at the end of the podcast recording when Bob Lowry is giving his salutation and we're going off the air. And in his own words, I think he summed up his life perfectly there for you. And if you haven't heard the news, which you may have heard already, Bob Lowry passed away November 18th, and he's no longer with us, and he's definitely in a better place. And I also wanted to include the video clips of the recording for you. So if you're watching the YouTube version of this, you're going to see in the first segment Bob Lowry actually talking on screen, which I never really utilize for the podcast recordings, but I think it is better to see Bob Lowry also for the last time, as well as hear him, and I think that's a very impactful way to honor him, is by allowing you to see him, and the fact that you can definitely tell from the video that his health was in failing condition with the oxygen that he was receiving during the recording. And I'm not particularly good at doing these kinds of things, these kind of eulogy type things. The last time I ever gave anything like this was at my grandmother's funeral, and of course that was hard to keep things, from breaking down up there. And so I'm not really that adept at these kind of things, but I think it's better if we talk about Bob's accomplishments and kind of what Bob meant to the industry. He, of course, was the author of 23 different books, and he also invented 111 chemicals. Probably his best known chemical is Natural Chemistry's Instant Pool Conditioner. I love that chemical, and it just takes a mind like Bob Lowry to come up with something like this, for sure. His books definitely are invaluable to the industry. His chemistry knowledge is unmatched. 49 years in the industry, he's definitely unmatched by anyone still living in the industry. And Bob Lowry himself touched on his altruism to the industry, and I think this quote by Sir Wilfrid Greenfell kind of fits Bob Lowry perfectly and sums up his life. It says, "The service," or it goes as this, "The service we render to others is really the rent we pay for our room on this earth. It is obvious that man is himself a traveler, that the purpose of this world is not to have and to hold, but to give and to serve. There can be no other meaning." And as a person of faith, I of course believe that Bob Lowry definitely is in heaven, and he's in a better place, and he's taking his full, deep breath that he was not able to do for the last 5 years here, or 6 years here, and he's just enjoying, just breathing. I think the best way to sum up Bob Lowry for you, and what kind of person he was, what kind of man he was, what kind of husband he was a phone call that he made to me about 1.5 years ago. He was shopping his material around, his certified residential course, all of his books, the rights to all of his books and all his material. There was definitely value to that. He also had the IPSA training manuals that were copyrighted, and so it was strictly a business call to me from him, not for me to buy his material, but he wanted to run the price point by me and kind of the best way to structure it so that he can come up with the best proposal to sell his material, to sell his legacy, so to speak, to an individual or to a company. I actually gave him the idea to sell it to a company because they would have the funds and the resources to promote his business. He never thought of that angle, and he wanted an individual to purchase it. But I was explaining to him that an individual really wouldn't be able to handle, that kind of a transfer of, I guess the way to put it is there's some intangibles involved in his material, and for an individual to take over would be harder than a corporation that would be able to utilize his material in their own material and have his stuff taught by their instructors. And fortunate for Bob that HASA came up and to the plate and purchased all of his material about 5 or 6 months ago. And so HASA is going to take all of his training and carry it forward with their lead instructor, Terry Arco, at the helm. And they're going to teach the course, and they're going to promote the material somehow through their organization and continue Bob's legacy beyond this point going forward. And I bring this up because the reason behind the call was not for him to get the most money out of his material. The reason behind his call was not for him to profit from his material. The reason behind his call was, and he told me flat out, he wants to set up his wife Sylvia in Peru so that she won't have anything to worry about after he's gone. And so his motive for selling his material was not to continue his legacy, was not really to keep his material out there in print, was not really to keep a certified residential course going, although that is going to happen now with Hassa being the owner of his material. But his real goal behind all of this was to create a monetary legacy for his wife so that she would be taken care of. And that's Bob Lowry, and that's the heart of Bob Lowry. So talking to Bob Lowry over the years, I never really encountered anything beyond a person that really was set in his ways. I guess you can call him stubborn, but when he had something and he thought it was the right way to do it, he was unwavering. So I guess you can call him a zealot in some cases. And, he was really adamant about his way of chemistry and his way of preaching it, to the point where maybe he ruffled a lot of feathers in the industry and didn't make as many friends as you would think someone of his stature would make. So he may not have been honored in a lot of corners in the industry, but all of us that follow him know that his stuff really is verifiable. His stuff works, especially all the talks he's given on borates and using borates in pools and how effective that is. And that just proves the point. Bob Lowry didn't make any money when he ordered borates from Duda Diesel or any other source. He didn't get a dime from that. And he knew that the borates were effective, and he promoted that for that reason. And the same reason why he promotes his new free chlorine level and his target ranges. I highly recommend getting his books. And in that blog article that I'm going to create with all the podcast links, I'll put the Amazon links for his material so you can also purchase his books, and know that a lot of this, of course, is going to support his wife with the deal he made with Hassa. And I think purchasing his material is something that you need anyway, because it's really great and well written and easy to follow. And if you don't have one of Bob's books, now is definitely the time to have one. But I'll go back a little bit to Bob's personality. And Bob Lowry is the only person that I think who got away with saying this in one of my podcasts. I can pull it up if I can find it. But basically he said that he knows everything about chemistry and about the industry. And it wasn't an arrogant statement. 49 years in the industry, having his foot in every single aspect of the industry allowed him to say that. And I truly believe that out of everyone in the industry, Bob Lowry was like a walking pool calculator. He had everything in his head. The podcast that I recorded with him, when he throws out these numbers, they're coming out of his head. There's no time to calculate them. And so his knowledge was definitely superior to many people, including myself. I consider myself fairly knowledgeable, but maybe I have enough knowledge to come up to Bob's ankles. I don't know. He was just that knowledgeable in pool chemistry and in creating products. So there's really no equal that I can think of in the industry, and there may never be an equal to him in the industry again. Thankfully, the podcast that he recorded with me here and with the Pool Nation podcast is something that you can refer back to, and his chemistry is sound and it's somewhat timeless. I think his new concepts are going to hold the test of time. His new free chlorine formula to establish the correct free chlorine level, you can refer to that podcast that I recorded with him on that. His target ranges, his certified residential course, and Hassa is definitely going to carry the torch forward and promote his material. I think one of the things that Bob Lowry really emphasized in all the talks with me is that there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And many people just don't seek the education nor the knowledge to do things the right way. And I told Bob during the certified residential course, when I was talking to him during a break, I said, Bob, this is the only industry where you can get a truck, get a pole, a net, and a hose, and start getting business and call yourself a pool guy. What if you had that amount of training for your auto mechanic. You take your car there, and the guy is like, "Hey, I just got this shop today. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll change your oil and I'll change your spark plugs, no problem. I'll just go on YouTube and I'll Google it and see what I can figure out." And this is one of the only industries that is set up like that, which is really not good, but it's also good because you can enter the industry easily. And so, he kind of laughed at that because that's the truth of it. It is an industry where you can do that. And then as far as his target ranges go, I had told him to, your target ranges are logical because let's say you went into the bank and you told the teller, "I'd like to get $200 out." And the teller says, "Well, I'll give you 170 because that's within range of the 200. You're okay with that, right?" And of course you wouldn't be because you're not getting your $200. And the same thing goes with his target ranges. To have such wide ranges of pH, chlorine, and alkalinity and not have a specific target to kind of aim for, you can be all over the map. And so it does make logical sense that he came up with this idea of target ranges, which should catch on in the industry, I think, because you need to have something that's kind of nailed down, and then you would go from that point either up or down. And it just makes perfect sense to me. So Bob was a very logical person, and there was a lot of thought behind everything that he taught and wrote about. All this to say that, of course, Bob Lowry is going to be missed by his family, by his wife, and missed by all of us in the industry. But I have some comfort knowing that Bob Lowry is somewhere much better, taking a deep breath, letting that breath out, and smiling.
Well, in my career in the pool industry, which is now 48 years, I have owned 2 chemical companies and a publishing company. I've written 21 books on pool chemistry, developed a little more than 100 products, chemical products for pool and spa use. I have been a CPO instructor for 21 years. I have written 5 apps for phones for pool use. I've written probably 30 or 40 technical bulletins on various subjects, and a lot of the current CYA debate and using borates in pool and using aeration to raise pH has probably been promoted and made a huge awareness in the last 5 to 8 years, largely because of me. And it's okay. I have gone from being a nobody and a maverick and a who the hell is he to being, I think he knows what he's doing, to people are sometimes now saying I'm the master, the godfather, or a genius. So I'm not sure whether I'm a nobody or a genius, but I do know water probably better than practically anybody you can think of. So, and I'm also independent, so I don't have an axe to grind, and I don't have a company telling me what I got to say.
And that's a little bit about Bob Lowry from himself, and he's definitely a legend and an icon in the industry. And I mentioned many times here that he'll be missed by us and his family. And I think that the legacy, of course, will live on in the podcast recordings that I have done with him. There's over 50 podcast episodes, and I'll have the blog article link in the description here with all the links to the other podcasts that I recorded with Bob Lowry. And whether you're a person of faith or not, I think the way I look at it, and I look at my faith very logically and from a kind of position like Bob Lowry would look at it, that there's just so much detail involved in the universe. For example, my son's into astronomy, and when you study, the galaxies and things of that nature out there, for instance, there's a sun called UY Scuti, and it was discovered not too long ago, and the size of this sun, 3.69 billion of our suns will fit into this particular star. And so that just shows you how massive the universe is. If you look at human DNA, if you have all the coils, there's 3 billion pairs in each cell. It would fit in a space just 6 microns across, and Bob Lowry would appreciate the reference to microns here. But if you would take that DNA strand that you are made of, or that's in you, that is you, it would actually stretch out, if you put the cells together, about twice the diameter of our solar system, which is pretty incredible that your DNA strand is compacted down like that, and is so complex that it dictates everything about you. And so whether you believe in a God or not, or if you're a person of faith, it's just one of those things that eventually all of us have to reach a point where, why are we living our lives? What legacy are we leaving behind? And Bob Lowry exemplified a legacy of helping others. And I think in a big part is why I do what I do. And I'm not here to convert anybody to a particular belief, but I'm just saying that things are very complex and things are really hard to explain, especially a death of someone that you know. However, there is hope in my particular faith, and there's hope for you in the same way that there's hope for everyone out there. And death, in my belief, is not the end. It's just the beginning of your eternal life in heaven. So, as I always say, God bless, and thanks for listening to this podcast. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.